The Edmonton Oilers are making history, not just on the ice with Draisaitl in his bid to win every individual trophy there is, but also with Zach Hyman and Connor McDavid. All that and more today on Oilers Digest, as we also preview tonight's matchup on Hockey Night in Canada against the Chicago Blackhawks at the United Center. But first, if you haven't subscribed already to the channel, make sure you do so. If you're part of the 81% that haven't subscribed to the channel, folks, what are you waiting for? For any and all Oiler news, the good, the bad, and all the news in between, this is your place to be. Without further ado, back to the roots. Yes, when it comes to the Oilers in junior hockey, they are no stranger to one another. And Zach Hyman and his family, no stranger to buying hockey teams. And that's exactly what Zach Hyman is doing. An official announcement on Monday for Zach Hyman buying the Brantford Bulldogs from Michael Andlauer, the owner of the Ottawa Senators. Of course, Zach Hyman and his father, Stuart Hyman. He's bought many OJHL teams, or the Ontario Junior Hockey League teams. So Zach Hyman throwing his name into the hat to finally add hockey team owner to his list of titles, including entrepreneur, businessman, authors. You can see there, Bubblegum Kids with his brother Oliver Hyman there, and his books, Magician's Secret, Hockey Hero, and The Bambino in Me. So Zach Hyman, not only a 50-goal scorer, folks, he is doing anything in his power. But when it also comes to junior hockey, that's not the only Oiler making a name for himself. Yes, last night in Erie, Pennsylvania, Connor McDavid had his number 97 retired by the Erie Otters, which is an amazing achievement here for McDavid, and he's quoted as saying, a trip down memory lane, coming back to Erie, the heyday for his junior career, being back here in Erie, being in the rink, seeing the room, just being in the environment. It's been really fun. It means a lot to be recognized for my time here and the great teams that were here. We had great teams and went on some really fun runs, and I remember this building being rocking the Erie Insurance Arena. So it's just fun to be back here. Of course, Connor McDavid in his junior career. I didn't win, the OHL championship and didn't even go to the Memorial Cup to face off against Draisaitl in his Kelowna Rockets in 2015. But still, Connor McDavid, nothing too shy about there when it comes to his junior career. You can see there 66 points in his rookie season, 99 points in his last season, and he didn't even play a full season in his last year with the Otters. Of course, he did break his hand in a game against the Mississauga Steelheads, but still put up 120 points in the regular season, not to mention almost 50 points in the OHL playoffs that year, and he didn't even, win the whole thing, so that is just more than extraordinary. And, he also won a World Junior Gold there in the process in his final season at Erie. So again, nothing to, really not be impressed about with Connor McDavid. And when it also came to his coach, Kris Knoblauch, he had this to say, as Kris Knoblauch also did coach Connor McDavid in Erie. He said, I feel like his time here in Erie was kind of the golden age of Otters hockey, 450-win seasons, the playoff runs, and ultimately them winning in 2017. Of course, they did win the OHL championship in 2017, but lost in the Memorial Cup final that year to the Windsor Spitfires, who hosted the tournament. But what he's done as a coach is so impressive, and he continues to do great work with us each and every day in Edmonton. And that's exactly what he's going to do tonight as the Oilers head to the Windy City for Windy City Redemption. Of course, the Oilers and Blackhawks already met once earlier this year. Of course, it was one of the first few games for both teams in their season, with the Hawks taking that one 5-2. So hopefully the Oilers can get some redemption tonight. Of course, 6 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Mountain on Sportsnet West as a part of the Hockey Night in Canada banner. And the lines and pairings, the lines yesterday were without Connor McDavid, so it's not really worth sharing them here, as of course all the lines were jumbled and nothing was set in stone. So we should see something similar to Monday's practice, the past couple games for the Oilers, what's worked, for them, despite the Pittsburgh game when they loaded up the top line with McDavid in Draisaitl. But Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid, and Connor Brown, Vasily Podkolzin, Leon Draisaitl, and Victor Arvidsson. And again, that tremendous third line there that worked in Boston with Jeff Skinner, Adam Henrique, and Zach Hyman, the newly hockey, the new owner of the Brantford Bulldogs, Zach Hyman, and Corey Perry, Matisse Yamark, and Kasperi Kapanen, with Derek Ryan being the extra forward. And of course, the defense, the only change that has happened in the past couple games for the Oilers was, swapping out Troy Stecher for Josh Brown. So that remains to be seen as a game time decision. Who exactly is going to be on Darnell Nurse's right side with Ekholm and Bouchard, Nurse, Stecher, or Brown, and then Kulak and Emberson, and then they could be running a 12-6. So either one of Stecher or Brown will be the extra defenseman tonight. Of course, Josh Brown exactly didn't have the strongest game, so hopefully, Troy Stetcher, whether, he's nursing an injury or it was just, a rotation on the right side, hopefully he's back in tonight. And Stuart Skinner projected to get the start tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks in a way to sort of bounce back his game after the Pittsburgh loss. Of course, that loss wasn't completely all his fault, as he held it close for the Oilers in the third period there, but Stuart Skinner will be facing the Chicago Blackhawks, who have generated the fourth lowest goals, expected goals for per 60 in 5-on-5 play this season. Despite his poor showing on Thursday, Skinner held a perfect 3-0 record with a stellar .963 save percentage and a 1.03 goals against average over his previous 3 games. Facing a team that has struggled to generate high-scoring chances should set Stuart Skinner up for a nice bounce back showing. Of course, the Oilers and the Kings are yo-yoing over that second spot in the Pacific. Of course, the Los Angeles Kings on a 5-game win streak, in who will be Edmonton's next game after tonight on Monday at Rogers Place. But, we can't look ahead to that too soon here, as the Oilers still have to play the Blackhawks tonight. But the Kings coming off a 2-1 win over the Winnipeg Jets in overtime last night, and then Vegas up ahead by 6 points there. So, the Kings and Oilers trying to lower the gap there, while they hope Vegas drops some games. And when Vegas does drop games, well, the Oilers, they seem to lose the big ones. But, Vegas on an 8-2-0 through their last 10. Of course, Los Angeles 5-game win streak, 7-1-2. But the Oilers also holding their own with a 7-2-1 of their last 10. But just taking a look at the Chicago Blackhawks, opposite end of the spectrum here, last place in the National Hockey League with a record of 14-26-2. But this always seems to be, classic trap game for the Edmonton Oilers. They come into the building of, a lower ranked team, and they seem to fall asleep in the first period, or they don't wake up until it's far too late to realize, it's a little too late to make a comeback here. But the Oilers, they should dominate the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. I mean, there's no way around it there. I mean, they did dominate the Seattle Kraken last Saturday, and every other team on this list they dominated, even that close game against the San Jose Sharks. But when it comes to the Blackhawks, I mean, it's not a bad team on paper. The top 6 with Tyler Bertuzzi, Connor McDavid, who's had himself a bit of a quiet season, in Ilya Mikheyev, Taylor Hall, former Oiler Taylor Hall. I've seen many people try to clamor for him, for the Oilers to acquire at the trade deadline. Of course, with the news that Evander Kane might not be back until the playoffs, sort of use that LTR space with Jason Dickinson in Nick Foligno, Colton Dach, Frank Nazar, and Teuvo Teravainen. And lastly here, Pat Maroon, former Oiler Pat Maroon, Philip Kurashev, and Ryan Donato. And this is where it starts to lose me here for the Chicago Blackhawks on the back end. Wyatt Kaiser and Seth Jones, Alex Vlasic, who again would not be a bad fit here for the Edmonton Oilers, next to Louis Crevier and Nolan Allen, and TJ Brody, who for some miraculous reason still in the National Hockey League. Seems like he's been in the league for forever. And getting the start tonight for the Chicago Blackhawks is Arvid Soderblom, as the Detroit Red Wings did beat Peter Mrazek in the Blackhawks last night 5-3. So Hawks on the second end of a back-to-back here, and Soderblom better numbers than Mrazek here, the 2.92 goals against average and a 905 save percentage. I mean, on an awful Blackhawks team, those are fairly respectable numbers. And of course, with the Hawks, we've seen them before, like we did with the Pittsburgh Penguins games. I, pointed out how both teams awful at leaking goals. You can see the Hawks, the worst goal differential in the National Hockey League. And I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins were notorious for leaking goals, but we all saw what happened. And of course, any given night in the National Hockey League, upsets do happen, but hopefully an upset doesn't happen tonight. That is it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the Hyman acquisition of the Bulldogs. If you have any thoughts, what do you think about McDavid's retirement in Erie? And give me your thoughts on tonight's game against the Chicago Blackhawks. Again, always should be a good one. Can't go wrong with Oiler hockey, especially on a cold January night, Saturday, unless hockey night in Canada. Folks, enjoy the rest of your Saturday and enjoy the game tonight. We will be back with a recap tomorrow afternoon. Take care. Let's go Oilers. Enjoy the game. I'm Matt.